One big team. One big team. One big team. Welcome to Riot Act, episode 81. This is the alternative music podcast with me, Stephen Hill, and with his anemic cup of coffee sat over there, it's Renfrey Deadman. Sorry, the coffee's not strong on Renfrey. I haven't bought. I need it, but I haven't bought any new coffee.
You're doing all right today, Steve.
I've got the fucking worst hangover.
How the tables have turned.
I know.
I haven't had a drink in 6 months.
I haven't had a drink for a while.
That's a lie.
Well, you've had loads of drinks.
I've had quite a few drinks this weekend, but I'm not hungover right now, whereas you are.
We'll talk about the Brit Award. You can't go to the Brit Awards, which I went to last night.
Without drinking. God, no.
You have to drink.
Oh, I would be far worse.
A bad time.
I'd be in a far worse state than you are.
Yeah.
Now, if I'd been where you had been. My goodness.
Just to give context that I wasn't really drinking. I had a couple of drinks over the last couple of weekends because I gave up over January and that. And then
this is a heroin hangover, isn't it?
This is bad. This is like the bar tab for the company I work for. We had to hit a certain amount.
Right.
You know, you have a minimum spend.
Yep. We
had to hit, and everyone had left, and we were so far behind the minimum spend.
Really?
So my boss was like, you have to order the most expensive thing at the bar until we hit that minimum
spend.
My
God, okay.
So I was drinking double gin and tonics and White Russians at the same time.
Legend.
Till 3 a.m.
And how did... I don't know if I should ask how that settled in the stomach.
Really badly.
Yeah,
especially like when you've been just drinking sort of beer and wine. First drink I had was a non-alcoholic lager at like 7 in the evening.
Oh, that's nice.
And I was like, I think I'm going to be good tonight. No.
If anyone would like to paint an artistic picture of Steve's innards for the episode this morning.
And that's why I'm also on the fucking cookies. You can bitch and moan all you want about how it sounds. You ain't getting a podcast unless I can eat this fucking cookie with it as well.
Very nice cookies.
They are.
Tastes like they got coconut in them. They're not.
They're good.
They're just Fox's chunky cookies, aren't they?
After having all those White Russians, last thing I want is coconut. Oh, that's pina colada, isn't it? Don't know what I'm on about. Welcome to the show. I'm Stephen Hill. He's Renfrey Deadman. I think we've established that at this point. Coming up on this week's show, we're going to be reviewing new albums. What good week, isn't it? Ozzy Osbourne, Agnes, Obel, in Technicolor, and Greg Dulli. I don't know why I'm laughing, but they're new albums. We were going to do trade-off, but I physically am incapable of doing that this week.
Oh, we're not doing trade-off? Okay.
Oh, did you think we were?
I thought we were doing trade-off.
I told you I'm physically incapable to do that.
Oh, sorry.
To think about things.
Didn't see the message. I've listened to Earth Crisis for nothing.
No, I'm not for nothing. We'll do it next week.
All right.
And you listen to Earth Crisis. Yeah. So there you go. Shout out our friends at Musicism, musicism.net. Provide the best online tutorials for any budding musicians. If you want to be a tip-top guitarist, a shit-hot vocalist, or a whiz behind the desk of production, you can go over there. It's $9.99 a month. Or if you put Riot in capitals in the checkout, it's 25% off. And that feels like quite a bargain. Especially today of all days, Renfrey.
It's an absolute bargain.
Bloody bargain.
Fancy twiddling some knobs? Only £7.50.
Yeah. Last week I teased, in the hope that it would be out, I teased the start of our best albums ever.
This is why I've told you to hold off over and over again.
So I'm doing it again. We're going to do a new series. First 4 albums we're going to record are going to be the 2 that we've already done, Antichrist Superstar and Use Your Illusion 2. And then we're going to do The Wall, and we're going to do Radiohead's OK Computer, Stroke in Rainbows mashup. 2 have been recorded, should go out soon. But if you think, oh, that's nice of them, maybe I'll give them some money for that. Patreon.com/Riot Act Podcast is where you can do that. And I think very soon we're going to be putting up some more Rioters reviews.
I'll say this much. The chances that they're out by the time this comes out are very, very slim.
Wow.
But the chances of them being out in a week's time are much, much higher because we're having that meeting next Tuesday.
That's true. Good. Anyway, how have you been, Renfrey?
I've been all right.
Talk for a bit while I ate my biscuit.
It's been a bit of a weird week because I've been travelling all around the Europes, trying to negotiate peace dealings between our European neighbours now that Brexit's happened. But also going on tour
You're
with a
like a
couple of bands.
long-haired Dominic Raab, aren't you?
Very much so. I'm just like Dominic. And I was on the tour with the band Vassar, who we covered very briefly at the end of last week's show.
Briefly?
Well, relatively briefly. Well,
You three went on talking about, remember when Archangel, remember the website that covered bands who don't sing? Oh,
Yeah, it's nice to have some decent content in the podcast for once.
4 people on Earth are nodding their heads.
And they're all men.
Who look identical to you.
Yeah, pretty much. So Eric from Loathe.
Scott from Cancer. And one man that we haven't found yet.
And a beggar, probably. Sorry, Eric and Scott. So I jumped in the Vassar van with 4 Glaswegian boyos. Lovely stuff. And travelled all the way. Initially, we travelled to Germany. We travelled to Mainz in Germany. No, it rhymes with Mainz, Mainz in Germany. South. Fucking hell, I'm fucking this up. Southwest Germany. Southwest Germany. And played a little show there with a band called Thank You Scientists. That was good fun. I like German beer. It was fun. Then we popped off to the Netherlands, Haarlem. Tiny little city just outside Amsterdam, very similar to Amsterdam if you've ever been there, just like a smaller, quieter version of Complexity Fest, which has been going on, I don't know, 5 years now? I think this is the 5th or 6th year, something like that. I've been 3 of those years. This was the festival that I jumped in the van with Conjure with this time last year.
You had a mad old time, didn't you?
Yep.
You have a mad old time again?
I had a mad old time, certainly. Complexity, just to give you an idea. I mean, people hear the name and they immediately go, oh, that's a tech metal festival. And that's half true, but it's kind of a mix between Techfest and Arctangent. So to give you an idea, Night Verses were one of the bands playing, very technical instrumental music these days, but the headliners was And So We Watch You From Afar, so you can see where that Arctangent Techfest kind of thing marries up. And it was an excellent bill this year. I got there and the first band I saw was Herod, which was excellent because
nice.
I've not had a chance to see Herod.
No, that's great.
And they were on the main stage. They were fucking excellent. I had that album in my albums of the year last year, Sombre Dessin.
Yeah,
I think
it's
called.
fucking brilliant.
It's a fucking great album.
So
and
good.
I feel like whenever we talk about it, we wang on about how brilliant it is. But I feel like even we should be bringing it up more because it really is a fucking great record.
It's really good, yeah.
And they had 45 minutes, so they basically played the whole record. And one thing that I forget about Herod is they're really quite diverse. They have some really slow, doomy 10-minute numbers, and then they've got some really fast, like 4-minute crackers. Whacker Jacks. That'll do.
Whacker Jacks.
In a similar way to Maya does. I mean, I've certainly compared them to Conjurer before, but...
Oh, everyone says Cracker Whacker Jacks about Maya by Conjurer. That's why it got boring in the reviews in the end, didn't it?
We've got to come up with episode titles somehow. So, if that's one way. But that'd be towards the bottom of the pile. But no, they were excellent. Herod were really, really cool. I'm looking forward to them actually coming over here. That would be nice. And then went to see Pine. I've seen Pine loads, and I've talked about them quite a lot on this show, just to say they were brilliant again. Back to a 4-piece. So as a result of them not having all of the musicians that I've seen them have like 9 musicians on stage in the past, and it's always going to be better the more musicians they have, but I still fucking loved it because they're a brilliant band. I saw the boys in Vassar again, so that was really good fun. They are a really tight-knit unit live normally, and in a sense I've kind of got the worst end of the stick because this is the show I saw in Germany was their first show in 16 months. And so the Complexity show was their second show. So, to be fair, ever so slightly rusty. But as I'm saying this, and probably as this goes out, they'll just be finishing up a UK tour where I'm sure they will be much, much tighter. It's just one of those things where like they just needed a couple of shows to break them in. But Vassar are a brilliant band, like so colourful and energetic, and just the last thing you'd expect to come out of Glasgow. Sorry, boys. Fair assessment, though.
Never had the pleasure of going to Glasgow.
Actually, neither have I, so I am saying that based on nothing.
On just lazy stereotypes.
Yeah. Right, this is where it starts getting good. Night Verses. Holy shit. I wanged on about Night Verses when that instrumental record came out.
You did, yeah.
I think it was number 20 in my albums of the year that year. I fucking love it. I love how we talked about a couple of weeks ago about like technicality and bands that shove it in your face, or it was about Vasa actually.
It was about Vasa.
Or a band who are technical, but it may take you 3, 4, 5 listens to actually realise they're technical. 90% of the time I prefer the latter version, but Night Verses undoubtedly do shove how talented they are in your face and yet write songs as well. They're like one of the few outliers who somehow managed to do both. I actually saw them twice in 2 days because I was really excited about seeing them instrumentally, so I saw them in London as well, and both shows were absolutely incredible. Arik from Fever 333 obviously is drummer, and he is clearly one of the best drummers in the world. He's just fucking amazing, the shit that he does. And they had loads of projections from like Jodorowsky films and Kubrick films and stuff like that on the back wall, which made it a little bit more entertaining because, with the greatest of respect, most instrumental bands aren't all that much to look at on stage, and they're no exception really. So that was really cool that they had those. They were fucking amazing. People were really buzzing from it, and like as if they'd just seen something which you rarely get the opportunity to see. They're such an incredible band. Would be nice if we got more Night Versus stuff, but I think Arik's busy with some other project. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, you should fucking bin that off.
Racket Cannon. Racket Cannon are splitting up.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Which fucking sucks. And a big part of the reason... I will get to see Racket Cannon again later this year, but a big part of the reason why I decided to go to this was as many opportunities as I can take to see Racket Cannon I'm going to take, because they are such unique, unusual, punk as fuck, they do not care at all kind of band. And they're just amazing. Every time I see them, they're incredible. You don't quite know what you're going to get. One of those sets that you watch where you don't really have words for just how sublime and weird and unusual it is. This kind of dark synth hardcore. Have you seen Racket Cannon live?
I went to see them at Arc Tangent.
Right.
And I missed most of it because I went to the wrong bloody stage.
Oh, yes.
And I was waiting, and then the band came on, and I was like, well, this doesn't sound like them. And then it soon transpired that it wasn't. That's because it wasn't. So but then by the time I'd got out and then gone to the other side and it was packed and I'd got a place, they were like, this is our last song. So I thought, but I think I saw 1.5 songs. Okay.
From what I recall, you were really impressed with the 1.5 songs you saw.
Yeah, it was really good. It made me pretty angry that I didn't see the rest.
I would definitely do all you can to see them before they split up.
Where are they playing in London?
I have no idea. I don't actually... They're coming back for Arc Tangent. I don't know if they're doing dates around it or not.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if they're around now.
But, that's a good point. So Racket Cannon were incredible, and you should see them before they split up because they are unique, genuinely unique. No other band like them. And So I Watch You From Afar did 2 headline sets. They did this thing called Jettison, which they've been working on for a while. It's a very post-rock type project. In that, it's their new music lined up with visuals that have been created specially for it. And it was far more post-rocky in the sense that, because I don't usually describe And So I Watch You From Afar as a post-rock band. I don't think that's strictly accurate, but this was far more traditional, explosions in the sky, this will destroy you, kind of slow build post-rock to these quite beautiful, sumptuous images at times. So it kind of made a band that I think are quite different, or certainly spearheaded a different arm of that instrumental music scene, a little bit like every other band in that instrumental scene. That said, I still really enjoyed it, and it is a bit of me, isn't it? So I really
the greatest party band of all time, aren't they?
Their second set was the greatest party set of all time. It was fucking amazing.
Limp Bizkit without a singer, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It was really quite beautiful, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again properly. They're coming back in September to do those shows, I think, and they're probably like sit-down affairs. They're doing it at the South Bank Centre, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So it's that kind of gig, if that makes sense. But that was really cool. And then their actual career-spanning set was just fucking wonderful. They played loads of stuff from the first record, probably because they've been playing the first record constantly. I think they've been working last year as a result of 10-year anniversary. I think they've been working so hard on this Jetson stuff. They mainly did the first record again, plus a couple of other numbers. But they were absolutely wonderful. One of the best times I've seen them. I've seen them like 18 times, something stupid like that. But the night, and at this point, I'd ingested lots of drink. I'd ingested lots of legal marijuana and all sorts of things at this point. Oh, wide-eyed Steve there. Hey, it's the Netherlands. Can do what I like. Had a bit of smack. And the last band...
Get a smack on the bottom if you go on like this.
So the Vasa guys were telling me, are you going to go and see Otoboke Beaver? And, hard Glaswegian accents as well. I just didn't understand a fucking thing they were saying. I was just like, mm-hmm. And then other people were talking about this Otoboke Beaver. I was like, what the fuck is this Otoboke Beaver? Otoboke Beaver are a 4-piece, all-female, Japanese punk band, I'm going to say.
I know this band.
Do you know Otoboke Beaver?
Yeah, cool. I thought they're a big old cult thing, mate.
Mate, I did not know about Otoboke Beaver. They're great. Do you remember that song from the Kill Bill soundtrack, 5, 6, 7, 8? No, hold on. It was the song was
Yeah. By the 5, 6,
by the 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Otoboke Beaver are like that, but a hardcore band playing it, and there's a lot of surf guitar in it as well. Just mad, and it's very Japanese. But hey, that adds something to it, doesn't it? I mean, that's one of the countries where you can go, no, really, that does add a certain Japaneseness to it. I mean, they went on at 11:30, so you can imagine what sort of state I was in, and I was a little unsure if I was hallucinating or not, because it's not a specific Complexity Fest type band either. I mean, to have a punk band to sort of, most of their songs, I actually bought their album, and I've been really enjoying it. It's very good. But most of their songs are a minute 40 long. They're just really fast, thrashy punk numbers. So their debut album's 27 minutes. It's 14 songs long. I really enjoyed it. It was a really nice...
7 minutes, that must be good. It's 1 minute longer than the Green Day album. So it must be really good.
It's definitely better than the Green Day album.
I don't think we even need to say that anymore, do we? I think anything you ever mention is better than the Green Day album.
But yeah, it was a really awesome way to finish what had been quite a complex, technical-esque festival for a lot of it. Just to have these really simple surf guitar punk songs played by 4 Japanese women. It was fucking great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. That sounds good.
It was another great year. Complexity is a really fantastic festival. It doesn't cost that much. It's like €40 for a ticket. Yeah. It's just a day. So if you're like old and like, I don't want to camp, and nothing wrong with being old and nothing wrong with not wanting to camp. It's quite a nice one for that. And you can just get an Airbnb or something like that. And it's just a day long, but the venue is perfect. There's 3 different rooms in the venue, and like, it's lovely. It's a really nice... You can have a really nice weekend away without it being that much money, really. And watch bands all Saturday, which is nice.
Nice. Okay, good. Well, while you were doing that, I went to go and see Loathe at O'Meara.
I was gutted I missed this.
Really fucking great. Like, I was so impressed. I've not ever seen them headline a show before. It was sold out. O'Meara is... they used to have the after party of the Golden Gods at O'Meara. Don't know if you ever went to that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in London Bridge. It's right nearby. Not to tell people where I am all the time again, but it's really close to where I work.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
People
so,
know
number
where you
27.
live.
Someone tweeted me and was like, number 27 by the Asda, is it? In Greenwich. I was like, yeah, good luck. You know what I mean? Come round. I don't care. Like, come on, just knock on the door. If you want to come, if anyone wants to come round, I don't tell you any more than that, but come round. You're always welcome. All of you. So the room, I think I saw horror in there before.
Yes, I was at that.
Yeah, that was the thing, the Hammer after party. And
quite a weird room.
Yeah, but a cool room, I think. It's kind of vaudevillian, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels quite classical.
Yeah,
Stony.
I really like the venue, and it was absolutely ram-packed.
Right, good.
Like, completely and utterly squashed together like one living organism. We were, and it went off. And their stage show, considering the album had been out like a week, they'd obviously been working on a new stage show. They still had the TV and stuff, but it was a lot more. I thought they did a lot more with the lights. The lighting looked really ominous. There's a few bands. I mean, actually, I'll probably talk about lights and show and stuff in a minute. We'll talk about the Brits, obviously, because a lot of that is just surface level shite. But when you do get an artist who puts a lot of thought into that and they have substance with their music as well, it really does add something to it. And
the Nine Inch Nails effect.
The Nine Inch Nails effect is, yeah, exactly. And they just looked great. That thing, they did a lot of just like red light shining out into the crowd.
Yeah.
Which is a trick. So I've been told that Botch used to put one massive spotlight behind them and just shine it right into the crowd's eyes. That's
right.
How Botch used to perform back in the day.
Refused sort of picked up on that.
Yeah, Refused did a bit of that as well. Yeah.
So the guitars pan from left to right on Worms of the Senses, if you listen to The Shape of Punk to Come, and it would be one guitarist would be sort of spotlighted, if you will, but from behind during his da-da-da-da, and then the other guitarist. And it worked really well. I loved it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was great. So they adopted that, and that thing about them, I looked and I was like, yeah, when you said about them being silhouettes and really easily recognisable, they are. The new song sounded amazing. It all kind of, by the end, it was just total carnage. It was one of those tiny gigs where you just think, this is the last time in a while you'll be seeing this band doing this. Do you know what I mean?
Great.
Because it felt like everybody was going mad. And the new song sounded brilliant. I think they'll get even tighter with them because obviously they've probably not been playing them live that much. So it's one of the first opportunities they had on this tour to be playing those songs live. But it was really good, and they need to get on a tour supporting somebody current and exciting and vibrant who can put them in front of. Then you get a tour with an American band. Some sort of American band who will, put them in front of a lot of people who may not have heard them before, but will be kind of they're a funny one, Loathe, because they're sort of so much of what they do feels really familiar, as we mentioned the Deftones stuff before, but then there's just this odd little British quality about it.
Yeah, because
so much of it seems to be influenced by American metal and American sort of alternative rock. But yeah, it has got that kind of British feel to it. A lot of very, very good bands. That's a thing. I think that's when British bands get metal or kind of newer metal. I wasn't going to say new metal then, but newer metal. Right? The best ones always do have that little something which sort of identifies them as being a British band. I think Loathe have definitely got that.
I think they also, at the risk of sounding a little bit cynical or record industry-esque, they package all of that stuff up really, really well.
They do
as well. Like, I can't think of a band who bring all of the elements that they do together and package it so well. And I mean, we've been saying for a while on this show that, keep an eye out for them because they're not quite there, but there's something potentially very special here. I mean, when I heard the new album, the last line of my Metal Hammer review is basically, "This is the future of British underground rock," pretty much, or metal or whatever. And I'm glad that seems to be proving to be the case.
Yeah, it was. I've always enjoyed them live. I've always thought they were good live.
Yeah.
But they were really good.
Amazing.
Today. Really, really good.
Awesome.
So that was the good thing that I did. Shall we talk about the Brits a little bit? I mean, I'll talk about it a little bit because it's massive, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start with the good stuff, which is brief, to be honest. The good thing was about last night. Okay, I've been going to the Brits for 4 years. My fourth year on the trot that I've been going.
Oh, lucky boy.
Right. I think I can quite honestly say, and I've been racking my brains, I have never seen anything that I thought was good at the Brits.
Wow.
Not a single thing.
Okay.
4 years of, well, last night. 3 years of performances, and most of last night as well. So say 4, so 3 and 7/8 of the Brits, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything that I was like, that's really good. Nothing. Foo Fighters weren't good. Liam Gallagher wasn't good. Pink wasn't really very good. Stormzy, who and funny, Stormzy played yesterday as well. And again, I remember talking about Stormzy when he did it the first time and being like, Grimes dead, Grimes fucked, and then seeing him at Glastonbury and going, oh no, hold on, I've got this badly, badly wrong. But last night it was a sort of similar thing, and it makes me think that he's obviously an intelligent dude who tailors his set to where he's playing, because seeing him live, both times I've seen him live at the Brits, I have felt a little bit like, this is a bit wet.
There are massive, when you're performing live on TV as well, there are massive restrictions. So it might be simply that he can't do that stuff because he's been told that he can't.
Maybe, but I mean, the stage show was like Rammstein or something. Do you know what I mean? It was phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's spectacle.
It's not stage show stuff I'm talking about necessarily, but I mean, usually the stage show stuff you can ramp up as much as possible because that stuff looks great on TV. But there are some.
It was the hits. It was the radio friendly. That stuff. Yeah, and I did.
They didn't come on and play Territorial Pissings instead of Lithium or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Nirvana.
Yeah. He did a sort of medley of stuff, and there was a bit where, it was a bit sort of harder, but for quite a lot of it was not great. But I mean, I've never seen anything that I thought was good. And then Dave came on. We spoke about Dave on the Mercury, and I was a bit like, oh man, I wanted Idols to win. Having gone back to Psychodrama, and funnily enough, again, I think when I was speaking at the Mercuries, Dave didn't particularly impress me live at the Mercuries. And then at the Brits last night, it is the only time where I've stopped and gone, I have to watch this.
Wow.
It was amazing.
He was on piano, wasn't he?
He was on piano, just a box, like a kind of 4-box, and the piano had images of all kinds of stuff. I mean, he touched on so many different societal ills, if you will, throughout his performance, and he was absolutely spine-tinglingly brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and then deservedly got Album of the Year, which, when you consider he's up against the kind of fluff and the froth that was winning and performing throughout the rest of the night, I think.
Not heard of the fluff and the froth.
Well, it's Harry Styles and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah. I actually turned around to my mate and I was like, Dave should win this, but he's the only one who definitely won't, because he was up against Harry Styles, Lewis Capaldi, Stormzy, and I can't remember who, and Michael Kiwanuka. The Michael Kiwanuka album's good. That's good.
I like that Kiwanuka.
He's good, that dude. But, I was like, well, those two aren't going to win. And then when Dave won, I was like, oh my goodness me. There's a rare second, a little glimpse for a moment. It's almost like the Brits pretended like that sort of art was important in some way. So that was great. That's kind of the only positive thing I have to say, other than seeing Bring Me the Horizon video playing as they were nominated for Best Group, was pretty surreal. When you go, oh look, I'm at the Brits, and there's Bring Me the Horizon nominated alongside Coldplay for the Best Band, and they were like a little kiddie, teeny deathcore band that everyone hated sort of 15 years ago. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Who won Best Band in the end?
Foals, I think, deservedly won as well. On the strength of, again, the nominees in that category. I think Foals deservedly won that. Their albums that came out last year are better than Bring Me the Horizon's album and EP.
Still not listened to it, actually. I should probably check this out.
Yeah, I think it's good. If we were doing the reality. But it's weird going to the Brits, because the thing about it's not really a show for the people that are there.
No.
You're on, it's a TV show, and you happen to be in the audience. So it's always a weird thing. I mean, it's just not very good. It's crap, it's naff, it's shite. bad.
It's crap. It's knife. It's shite. It's bad.
God,
It's the Brits.
It's toss. It's shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just rubbish. It's just a rubbish load of shit.
Any other adjectives?
No, I mean, and the thing is, like I say, the performances of people you see. I think I said this before, but like when I remember seeing Pink last year and being like, "Where's Pink?" And I had that again this year when like Mabel opened it, and I was like, "Which one is she?" Out of those 7,000 people on stage, I can't even see. Whereas you go to the O2 Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder commands the entire arena.
Yeah, there's also
Pop stars don't seem to be able to like those particular pop stars that I've seen over the years. Very, very few of them are able to command the arena. Lizzo did, to be fair to her. She was quite good. It's not. I don't really care, but you know.
I would say. I mean, this is me putting a black mark against Pearl Jam, but there's less. There's less eye candy with Pearl Jam. There's less to distract you from Eddie Vedder, I suppose, when Pearl Jam are playing live.
Yeah.
Was it not just that? It was the sort of...
It might be, but then I do think if you're looking and you're like, I mean, if you're a superstar, who did I see once who played? And I was like, well, there's 500 dancers there, but they still are the thing that you focus on. And that should be the goal, really. I mean, so much of it I thought was poor. And one thing that did it, like, I don't know how deep I should go into this, but because I don't want to sound like a cunt, and obviously I'm not saying this isn't sad or anything, but Jack Whitehall, who was diabolical,
He is
absolutely woeful. Right?
When's he ever been good?
About 2006.
Oh, really?
When he was about 15, he was really good.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay.
I saw him once supporting Simon Amstel
Oh,
before
great.
he'd ever been on telly. He was brilliant.
Okay.
Not anymore. He was dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And he did a sort of tribute to Caroline Flack. So no, ITV are very sad about Caroline Flack, but there was no in memoriam thing. And I did think, I understand her having her own. Do you know what I mean? It's fresh in the news, but if you're going to do a sort of memoriam to someone and they're not even a musician, but yeah, we had a year where Keith Flint died and we had Mark Hollis died, and you know, and that's just two of people that I really, really like. Like I know, you know, Ginger Baker.
Yeah, it's been nice.
There's a lot of significant British artists that passed away that it was just like, nah, this TV presenter's more important, just because it was, and that to me, like, I'm not trying to undermine the fact that was, you know, a nice thing to do or even a necessary thing to do for ITV.
No,
right?
but it doesn't seem
But
like
I
the
do
right
think it
place.
says quite a lot about where they place the importance of music over celebrity and current celebrity as well.
Absolutely.
And then they got Lewis Capaldi. I mean, this guy, Lewis Capaldi, biggest selling artist, British artist of last year.
Yeah. He's boring. Isn't
Answering the question, you know, I've always wondered I've always thought to myself, if you took the music of David Gray, the looks of Hoggle from Labyrinth, and the comedy ability of an open mic stand-up comic doing his first ever 5-minute slot, what would that look like? And thanks to Lewis Capaldi, now we know. Yeah, rubbish. Harry Styles dressed as Willy Wonka, rubbish. Billie Eilish doing the James Bond theme with Johnny Marr and Hans Zimmer, rubbish.
This is the new Bond theme, is
the
it?
new Bond theme,
as in not the Monty Norman James Bond theme, but the new theme for the new film.
Yeah, rubbish. And the other thing,
what do you think of them having Billie Eilish? Just very quickly,
that's fine. She's really, you know, they always pick who's sort of big, don't they? At the time,
well, kinda, but it's
why it's weird when Chris Cornell did it, because Chris Cornell felt like he was, you know, been around for a long time.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think Chris Cornell was a weird one. I think, you know, I mean, when Madonna did
Tina
it,
Turner did Goldeneye, didn't she?
Yeah, exactly. When Madonna did it, she wasn't at the highest point of her career at all. So actually, I'd
Sheryl
kind
Crow,
of
garbage.
I'd argue against that in a way. I'm not sure if they
the last few though, Sam Smith and Adele, and then sort of Alicia Keys and Jack White as well.
It seems like they're going more that way.
And actually, I mean, Duran Duran and Aha in the 80s as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sheena Easton.
Yeah. For your eyes only.
We could go on. Anyway, yeah, it's a really quite.
I bet you I could
it's really
sing
quite a bad song. And
every Bond theme if you just said the title. I bet I could do the theme.
I might do that later when we finish doing this. What's your favourite Bond theme?
Ooh.
Living Daylights, isn't it?
Do you know what? I was
Daylights
just thinking,
is fucking great.
The Living Daylights.
And the headline fade away.
I do like the Living Daylights.
Living Daylights is great. They're back to back. Duran Duran into Aha.
Yeah, A View to a Kill.
Peak.
Really
and
good.
I actually had License to Kill by Gladys Knight.
Gladys
Gladys Knight was not.
No, definitely not.
I got that on 7-inch single.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
The old Timothy Dalton era.
I'm very happy. I love Timothy Dalton. Massively underrated. And in Flash Gordon as well, he puts his hand in the thing and then gets hit with the thing. Amazing.
No, he doesn't. No, that's matey from Blue Peter. Gets bit and he's like, please do it. And then he stabs him. And then Flash Gordon has to put his hand in and he's fine.
Maybe, yeah.
It's
Anyway,
not Timothy Dalton.
and fucking Brian Blessed in the same film together.
Yeah.
Amazing.
How have we got to this? That's how bad the Brits is. You just go, let's just talk about Flash Gordon.
For a
instead.
classic, I'm going to go with Dimes Up Forever.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're one of those, are you? And
What do you mean by one of those?
well, you know, it's the classic one. It's not the best,
Look,
though,
I'm very happy with the Living Daylights as well, but you kind of picked the Living Daylights before I could pick it.
You
so
can still pick it.
Well,
If it's your favourite. It's your favourite.
yeah, the Living
The Chris
Daylights.
Cornell one is good as well, isn't it? I think
I don't mind the Chris Cornell one. I don't love it, if I'm honest.
it's not his best song, is it? It's not bad. You
No.
should have just put Spoon Man at the start.
Well, even it came out on his second solo album, Carry On, as a kind of, it wasn't a tribute to Sid James, but oh come on, that was worth more than that.
Again, not many people are getting it, unfortunately.
And it is by far one of the weakest tracks on that album, and it's a 16-track album as well. So
Better than anything on Scream, though. So anyway, I mean, it was bad. And then Johnny Marr. I mean, you couldn't hear Johnny Marr, but he was the one of only two guitarists, I think, at the entire thing. And I was like, fucking hell, there's no guitar bands, like none. No. Last year was in 1975. Year before that, there was Foo Fighters and Oasis. I think Royal Blood were there one year when I went as well. But this year, Rod Stewart. I mean, there's that kind of mini Faces reunion with Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood, and the drummer.
Oh, totally missed this. Okay.
Yeah, which was all right, and it sort of closed it. It did see it seemed a bit weird to have so many current acts and so many rap and R&B and sort of EDM acts, and then have Rod Stewart of all people kind of close it. Very weird. And then it just and then it just gone in, fuck off. You just saw the credits like that. The song ended, and then the lights just came up, and they just wandered off. So it's no good being at the Brits, and that's why you got to drink till 3 a.m. Drink White Russians and gin and tonics till 3 a.m.
How would you like people to leave the stage?
Thank you for coming. Do you know
Right, okay.
At least that's it now. Thanks for coming to this absolute horror show. Do you know what I mean?
Probably shows how much respect they have for their audience.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I always have a nice enough time.
You get plastered by the sounds of
I
it.
do get plastered.
Yeah, I've never seen you so hungover.
I'm really hungover.
Your eyes are drooping.
It's the
You look
worst.
like droopy.
Out of all the times I've been, yes, that was the worst, and it's because that fucking bar tab. Anyway, the Brits is terrible. It's terrible, and
News just in.
yeah, but I don't know. I was there yesterday, and after I left, I thought it's weird that it is so. I've always felt like I can't remember the last time I really cared about the Brits. Probably around the sort of Britpop era, maybe 94, 95.
96.
Sort of Blur and Oasis, 96.
96 with Jarvis Cocker and Michael Jackson. And
Yeah.
then after that, couldn't give a toss.
Yeah.
And actually, to say that I cared about it at that point, didn't give a fuck who won. It was then it was more of a kind of, people are going to do bad things like swear when they
Yeah, and also, I mean, that particular year had Blur performed. Oasis performed. I think Supergrass performed. Alanis Morissette performed.
A wicked version of Hand in My Pocket.
Yeah. Obviously, you had Michael Jackson. And then I believe, was it Bowie? Got the Lifetime Achievement Award. So you had David Bowie performing at the end as well.
Quite likely.
I mean, that's good, isn't it?
It's definitely better than what you saw.
When you talk about it now, you go, oh, that sounds quite good. But then, I don't know, maybe people will look back in... I mean,
go Lewis Capaldi.
Do people look back at 10 years ago at the Brits and go, oh, no, it was good because there was the Tings and Moloko. And I don't think they do.
I don't think people look back at the Brits after a certain amount of time because there's nothing to look back on. I mean, looking at the Tings, it's just like staring into the void, isn't it?
It's like looking at the inside of an empty crisp packet.
Even that has something vaguely interesting because there's your reflection, which is vaguely all crinkled up and stuff. I think that's doing the Tings a massive kindness, to be honest. It's like staring at a brown paper bag.
The Tings.
The Tings.
How dare you be a band?
How dare you, Tings?
How dare you, Tings? How dare you attempt to make music? How dare you attempt to express yourself creatively and come up with that? Anyway, yeah, the Brits is very, very bad. It's a bad thing. But we all knew that. But we're just so it's bad in a way that is a million, billion miles away from the sort of stuff we normally talk about, which is kind of terrifying.
Yeah, well.
Oh well. What I learned was young people like really shit music, but then Rod Stewart came on, and that's what I was like, oh God, don't young people like shit music? And then Rod Stewart came on and went, don't really old people like shit music as well? It's only 30-somethings that have good taste in music.
I've never got the appeal of Rod Stewart at all.
No.
It feels very...
Hashtag time's up.
Well, just a little. I don't know. He feels like he writes music for mums. That's about it, really.
Yeah, it was so weird seeing a lot of young people just sort of sitting there and going, "Well, I think we should probably go."
Yeah,
and the sort of, the Mecha Bingo crowd go mental when it came on.
Mecha Bingo crowd.
Yeah, the sort of
Bingo Wing crowd.
Yeah, all the like Coronation Street. Yeah, I deliberately didn't say that, even though it was the very thing that I was thinking. We spent far too much time talking about this. So
far too much time.
Let's talk about one thing I was going to mention. KK Priest.
Oh yeah.
KK Downing,
Judas Priest.
Yeah, has basically started a Judas Priest tribute band. I thought I'd mention this because he's got Tim Ripper Owens involved in it too. So two former members of the Judas Priest fraternity family. And he's sort of saying, I'm celebrating 50 years since I joined Judas Priest by going out on tour and playing a load of Judas Priest songs. So he's basically starting a kind of Judas Priest covers band. And never sits well with me, that.
He only left Priest quite recently, didn't he?
2011.
Oh, gosh, that's flown by.
Yeah, fucking right.
Yeah. I mean, he's... What?
It never works out. You don't know what to do with these sort of things. I mean, obviously, he's not claiming it's Judas Priest. I suppose just in the same way as Max and Igor Cavallero not claiming their Sepultura.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I went to see 2 Caius Lives gigs and had a fucking whale of a time.
But no one else is pretending. No one else is saying they're Caius, are they?
No, true.
Whereas Entombed and Entombed AD,
yes,
one of them going to I am Entombed. No, you're not. And there's 2 Queensryche touring around as well. I mean, I think whichever one you go and see.
There's 2 that crazy Bathsheba band. Bathuska.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them as well.
And also, you probably remember the controversy surrounding Gorgoroth as well, where there was a sort of tug of war for the name.
There was a man going around pretending to be you, wasn't there? Jason Statham, I think his name was.
It's not good, that.
Come on!
That's bad.
You're just upset because you're hungover.
No. There's a man going around pretending to be you, Jason Statham. Yeah, man. They wanted me to be the transporter. Come on. I mean, I'll take it. Jason Statham's a perfectly fine person to look like.
There's far harsher people I could have said. There's far harsher bald white men than I could have mentioned.
We did that. Yes, that's one of the things that happened. I had to be put through while I was drinking these drinks was just being told everyone that I looked like.
Right.
It got to the point where it was like a baked bean with no sauce on, and a chupa chup lolly with a fucking beard and stuff like that. A Tic Tac. I was like, Tic Tacs don't have beards. Tic Tacs do not have beards.
It's sort of a Tic Tac that's been dropped down a hole and you've picked it up and only half of it's grubby.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, half of my face is just dirt, isn't it? Anyway, KK Downing. Yeah, I annoy me these. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Get back in the band. Like, the thing is, you're not going to keep Richie Faulkner. I think Richie Faulkner's been really great since, and Firepower was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And the Priest have been really, really good since Richie Faulkner joined the band. And I know he wants to play his songs again, but
I was always, I mean, I haven't.
I wouldn't want, why would you go and see that?
Well, I'm assuming tickets to that are around a tenner as opposed to tickets to Priest being around 40 quid, I would have thought.
Constantly being cancelled.
Or constantly being cancelled. Well, that's the thing. Like, actually, in a way, at the moment, it's providing a service which the original band can't fulfill due to these bloody Ozzy dates, which we'll get onto, I'm sure. But, and I feel sorry for Judas Priest because
massively sorry.
They're probably... We don't know this for a fact, but the reason that they're not rescheduling those, I assume, is because they're probably caught up in lots of legal wranglings in terms of these shows have to be exclusive and all that yada yada gumph boring stuff. But yeah, that's probably the reason.
Yeah, so right, fair, that's true. But the thing, you obviously be playing smaller venues and might be they get pissy about it. I mean, we will probably be talking about this in this thing we're going to do about the wall. I've been obviously reading and listening to a lot of and watching a lot of stuff about The Wall by Pink Floyd at the moment in preparation for our special that we're going to be doing. And Roger Waters got really bitter that he was like, it kind of when 1990 rolled around and he was like, I'd be playing in a sort of theatre to 3,000 or 4,000 people, and Pink Floyd would roll up the next week and play in front of 60,000 people playing songs I wrote.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have left the band, should you? Or shouldn't have. Don't call people's bluff, Roger, without checking the fucking small print. Anyway, that's a different thing. So if you do really, really need to see some Judas Priest songs played live by someone who was in Judas Priest,
go to that.
Priest.
If that's a tenner and it's
would you go to that?
It depends. I mean, I wouldn't go to a Judas Priest one because I don't love Judas Priest in the way that you love Judas Priest. Like I'm sort of ho-hum about Judas Priest. I've been to Guns N' Roses tribute band before because they were playing
with Axl Rose fronting them.
No. Well, I went when Stephen Adler played with them.
Oh, did you?
At the Exchange in Bristol. Yeah.
What?
At the Exchange in Bristol. Yeah.
Stephen Adler played drums. I thought you meant Guns N' Roses played, and Stephen Adler played drums with Guns N' Roses.
No.
In Bristol. Like, what?
No, it was Adler's Appetite, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was cringe, but I got wasted and then waited for them to play Night Train and had a lovely time. So, and it was like £6. I mean, this... If you see those nights as gigs in the same way that you turn up and see Turnstile, you're going to be disappointed. If you see them as a night out getting blotto, they're usually quite fun.
Yeah. That's every night out for you, though, to be fair. To be fair. Let's do some bloody reviews. And since we were just talking about it, let's start with Ozzy Osbourne, Ordinary Man. This is the 12th solo studio album from Ozzy Osbourne, the first since 2010's Scream.
First in 10 years.
Which was not a great record.
Nope.
Let's be perfectly honest.
He hasn't released a great record for a couple of decades, though, has he?
When was the last good Ozzy Osbourne record?
No More Tears? Osmosis, maybe?
I was going to say Osmosis.
Which was
95. I mean, Osmosis is like, maybe it's because it's the one that came out when I was sort of getting into metal. And, Perry Mason was on MTV a lot. Perry Mason's a fucking tune.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a fucking tune.
Yep.
Screw you if you disagree otherwise.
It's been 25 years, though.
It's been 25 years. There's been some quite good moments in Ozzy's back catalogue since then,
I'd expect that from a heavy metal legend. Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, it's not been great.
It's not been great.
It's not been great. So you shouldn't really, especially. I mean, the thing is, going into an Ozzy Osbourne album now, the expectations of will this be good or not I think are long gone.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, I'm arguing 25 years gone.
Yeah. I don't know if 25 years gone is fair, but I mean, I
sure.
think like when the next one came out after that, you wouldn't have been like, there's just no way this can be good. Whereas going into this, I was like, okay, this can't be good. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I don't want to kind of second guess records too much, but in my head, I was like, well, this isn't going to be good, is it?
Yes, I went in with exactly the same attitude.
And more so, if that sounds harsh, bearing in mind what Ozzy's been going through recently, it's not meant to. It's just the fact that not it's gone beyond. Oh, I don't think Ozzy's really going to be able to cut it now. To fucking hell, I'm really worried about Ozzy Osbourne's existence, well-being. Yeah, right. That's more of a priority to me than whether or not he can make another good album, because he's made those first six Black Sabbath albums alone. He never needed to do anything ever again. Ever.
No. His legend would have been assured after that.
Although I am slightly loath to talk about Black Sabbath because this is an Ozzy solo record and they are very different. Renfrey, what I don't know if we've ever spoken about Ozzy as a solo artist before, you and I. What is your thoughts on Ozzy as a solo artist?
Generally not really my bag. I always preferred Ozzy. Kind of felt a little bit more hard rock as opposed to metal compared to Black Sabbath anyway, at the very I mean, you could argue it is metal, but just, I don't know, a little more Dayglow, a little more 80s, a little cheesier, and
it's bright, isn't
it's it? Bright, yeah, and I have it's showy, it's pantomime. I have an immense amount of respect for Randy Rhoads, who I didn't really bother looking into Randy Rhoads much when I picked up guitar because I wasn't interested in the songs, but then there's like a Total Guitar that came out which had a couple of his songs transcribed, and just learning to play them. And sometimes when you learn to play a song, you appreciate its genius so much more, and Randy Rhoads is very much like that for me. I realised kind of what he was taking from where and how he was putting it together, and I mean, genuinely one of the best guitarists to ever do it, I think, Randy Rhoads. But in terms of the songs, I'm not particularly interested and never really have been.
Okay. So, I say about Osmosis being a good Ozzy album. I think, up until, No More Tears, and that's not a bad run. I'm very much a pick and mix Ozzy Osbourne fan, really, in terms of like getting Bark at the Moon or getting Blizzard of Oz and wanting to listen to it from top to bottom. Not really. And it is those exact reasons why. The reasons that you've just brought up are probably the reasons why. It's brighter. It does sound more 80s. It does sound more Dayglow. It is far more reminiscent of, Van Halen and the Sunset Strip than
Absolutely.
It is Birmingham and, doom metal.
Despite being younger, despite being newer, the Ozzy Osbourne material sounds more dated than the early Black Sabbath material.
It does a bit, yeah. It does a bit. Having said that, Ozzy albums can be really fun. Yep. Listening to Ozzy can be really fun. I think you go and see him live, even at Download, when he was pretty bad, to be fair. Like, do you know what I mean? And he's been pretty bad, whether it be solo or with Black Sabbath. It's been a long, long time since he's been able to sing well.
Yeah.
Particularly live. I think you have a really, really good time with some of those songs. And Ozzy's fucking Ozzy, isn't he? This has Duff McKagan and Chad Smith as its rhythm section.
Yeah. That is exciting.
Yeah, and that's something that made me go, oh.
Yeah. Duff McKagan, a.k.a. Guns N' Roses bassist, and Loaded.
Velvet Revolver.
And Velvet Revolver, yeah. And, Chad Smith, one of the best things about the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Maybe the only good thing about the Red Hot Chili Peppers. No, Flea's good, isn't he? Flea is good.
for Shanti. But no, like whether you like Chili Peppers or not, Chas Smith's a great drummer. End of. He's just a great drummer. So that's cool. That's wicked.
Yeah, yeah. Got a couple of special guest slots on that we'll probably talk about at some point, like Elton John and Post Malone, Sublime and the Ridiculous.
Yeah.
As you said, though, we should mention Ozzy's just cancelled a bunch of 2020 tour dates. And knowing his condition, I mean, it's not a good thing, that is it?
We don't know if, at time of recording, we don't know if Ozzy Osbourne's going to tour this album. And obviously, I'm sure the plans originally were that he was going to tour this record. But I hope, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, I hope with the diagnosis that he has got, he ends up not touring it. It will be sad in a sense, but at the same time, we already discussed this a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of like, just let him fucking retire. You know?
Yeah. I agree. So we should talk about the actual album itself then, Ordinary Man. First Ozzy album in 10 years. As I said, I went into it with such low expectations.
Yeah, same.
So low. And that is why I was so sort of shocked at the opening. When it opened with Straight to Hell and All My Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is quite good.
I was very pleasantly surprised by the first few tracks.
Yeah.
I just thought they were really decent. Like Straight to Hell is a really good opening stomper of a track. It's what Ozzy does. Ozzy can continue to do that well as an older gentleman. And it you know, there were some interesting kind of Queenisms put into the kind of chorus in terms of the layered vocals and all that sort of thing. Can I skip ahead to Goodbye, track 3?
Yes.
Has a vaguely kind of Alice in Chains kind of feel, which I actually think is a good... We've talked about metal bands growing on gracefully. I think going into an Alice in Chains mid-paced heavy groove is actually quite a good way to continue to make heavy music whilst doing so with dignity as you grow older. And Goodbye sounds fucking great, actually.
Yeah, I thought I got to the first... After the first 3 tracks.
Yeah.
And I was excited because I knew the next one was the title track, which has got Elton John on it.
A ballad with Elton John. Yeah.
And I love Elton John.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious to know your opinions on Ordinary Man, the title track.
Now, what I will say about this record is when he does go stompy, for the most part, I think it's pretty good. I think Goodbye, and you know, there's Ozzy is actually very infectious on this record. You know, you mentioned it is Goodbye where he goes, "Do they not serve tea in heaven?" and all that bit.
I think so. I mean, I don't think that works very well, but okay.
No. But at least, I know it's very, it's very. I don't think it ruins the song.
No.
The song's over.
No,
you know, at that point, the song's over, and you just go, well,
why?
Why? But you know. I liked to hear Ozzy mucking about.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
he's a character.
He's having a laugh while he's having fun while he's making this record, and it's good. It sounds like, you know, because the last thing you want is to feel like Ozzy Osbourne has sort of been harangued into making another record or whatever, which I know is what some people have sort of insinuated. You know, that he's not been allowed to retire or whatever. We don't know. But so Ordinary Man, I think my biggest problem with this album, and it's actually kind of a problem with Ozzy as a balladeer from his entire career, is that when he goes sort of John Lennon-y or Jeff Wayne-y and tries to do that kind of earnest singer-songwriter-y and ballady stuff, you know, he's not got someone like Jim Steinman alongside him writing these songs to make them like Meatloaf, and he's not got a good enough voice like Meatloaf to make them absolutely ludicrous, which is how which is when they really work.
Yeah,
and he's not got a good enough set of songwriters surrounding him.
To be honest,
he's got Elton John in this one, so yes, but like,
when he goes ballady, it shows up his imperfections as a vocalist a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think so. And also, you know, they're just, you know, they're not. It's hard to do those sort of songs when he obviously loves the Beatles and he's aiming for the sort of thing that Paul McCartney or John Lennon would have done previously, and you just like you just can't. He's just not good enough to do that. Like Ozzy is good at a lot of things, and he's got musicians surrounding him that have helped him be good at various things. But he's never been good at that.
You can go right back to Changes, can't you? Which is
I don't like. See, I hate Changes. I think it's bum.
I don't hate it, but I don't. It slows that out. It's volume 4 it's on, isn't it? It slows it right down very early on. It's like track 3, I think, and it's like, oh, where did the Doom stuff go? You know.
For the lot, I mean, I wonder if it's. I've sort of reevaluated Volume 4 because it was the one that everyone was like, Volume 4 is so great, and it was always the one out of the 6 that I was like, I don't really know about.
Really?
Volume 4.
Okay.
I mean, I
like
do
Volume
now
4.
because everything else is brilliant, but I think Changes, like you say, it's a blob and a blot on what is a great record.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite go that far, but yeah, it does suddenly stop and then start again later. So not a fan of Ordinary Man, the song?
Kind of against all my... Well, this was going to say, like, I mean, there's another one later on, like Holy for Tonight, which I think is worse.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's bad, that's really bad. Ordinary Man, I should think is shit.
Yeah.
Because it's really schmaltzy and it's quite obvious and it's not particularly well put together.
No.
And neither of them sound that... inspired by it.
They sound like they're just tossing it off.
Yeah. And
not something you want to do when Elton John's in the room, but there you go.
Oh.
Is that too much?
Well, I mean,
might cut that.
Yeah. But I think maybe you shouldn't just see if people go, how could you possibly think that was all right to say? Here's Eminem over there. I didn't like Eminem. You're fucking acting like him. Against all of my better judgment, I just think hearing, like, I love Ozzy and I really love Elton John as well. I don't know how much we've spoken about that before.
We've definitely talked about it quite a bit. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, you fucking love.
Oh, I love Elton John. I'm going to see Elton John this year.
Are you?
Yeah. Fingers crossed, because he's ill at the moment. For his retirement tour.
Selfish.
Huh?
That's selfish of him being ill.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So against all of my better judgment, I find myself actually enjoying Ordinary Man, even though I'm aware that it is not very good.
It's taken us a long time to get to this point, but actually, yes, I don't know. Everything about Ordinary Man is bad, and yet I really like it.
Yeah.
It's mawkish. It's far too sentimental. It's schmaltzy as fuck, badly put together, and yet it's Elton John and Ozzy Osbourne singing together over quite a decent Elton John piano ballad, and I'm like, yeah, but I still like it.
Strings, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like it's quite hard to not go, that's good. Yeah, that's something that I always would have liked to have heard done, and here it is. So yeah, at that point in the album, I'm sort of 4 for 4, really, which I think is mad to consider being 4 songs in on an Ozzy Osbourne album in 2020 and actually going, oh yeah, I wouldn't change anything so far. I mean, I probably might change a little bit on Ordinary Man, but
doesn't last though, does it?
No. I mean, no, it doesn't. But it was never going to. I mean, at that point, I was like, 4 out of 10, I'll take it.
Isn't it 11?
Well, that's tagged on the end. Isn't
All right, okay, 4 out of 10.
Does that count? Because that's actually a Post Malone song.
Well, it's on the version that I got.
Well, it's not on the one I got.
Oh, okay. Well, no, we don't count it.
It's not on the one I got, and also that is a Post Malone song that's on. Was made for Post Malone's album.
Well, that's why it sounds really weird on this record. Maybe it's a bonus version. I don't know, but it didn't work for me. Yes, I do actually think the first 4 songs. I kind of wish the first 4 songs on this album I sort of wish this had been an EP. And I think if Ordinary Man had actually finished it, despite it being mawkish and sentimental and stuff, if that had been the last song that we heard as Ozzy Osbourne fans, and the last thing he ever recorded and all that, it would have been a really lovely full stop on his career in a way.
That's really true.
Unfortunately, it goes on for another 6 songs, and it's just the sound of a shovel digging dirt and the sound of Ozzy Osbourne burying himself alive, more or less. Just sounds absolutely... I mean, Scary Little Green Men.
I know we have to. That's such a bad song. It's fucking such a bad song.
Scary Little Green Men is worse than the song title. And the song title, Scary Little Green Men, is pretty fucking abhorrent.
Yeah.
But that is a dreadful song.
It's really bad.
What else is awful?
Wow. I mean, Holy for Tonight.
Holy for Tonight, yeah.
It's just... There's a lot of stuff about his own mortality on this record, isn't there?
Yes.
Like, there's a hell of a lot of stuff about him checking out and him being in heaven and, you know, what will you think of me when I'm gone? And, you know, my whole life I just wanted to be, I just didn't want to be an ordinary man. And a lot of sort of, and I suppose artists do that when they get to that certain age and that certain point of their career, and I completely understand it. But like you say, it would be nice for this to be a full stop where he does that, and if it is the last thing we hear of Ozzy Osbourne, it's not kind of mullered or kind of bullied away from the out of shot by something like, you know, Scary Little Green Men. I mean, we've got Black Star by David Bowie up here, and I did put that out as a kind of like
there's the gold standard. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, if the first 4 tracks had been expanded out into an album, we'd be talking about a really good record. But it's just sort of followed up with kind of like, okay, let's just do some sort of classic, quote unquote, Ozzy Osbourne tracks now, which might have worked when he was 30. I mean, I don't think you could do anything to Scary Little Green Man. It's fucking atrocious.
Yeah, it's bad. That's real bad.
But I mean,
in case you hadn't noticed, I was thinking that.
Is it Take What You Want, or is it It's a Raid?
It's a Raid with Post Malone. Do you like that?
No. No.
See, I was like, because I thought, well, the other thing you can do, you haven't said that, I thought Ozzy Osbourne either goes out as, you know, on that kind of very mawkish, sentimental, emotional ballad with Elton John, or he goes out like a pissed up, drunk, one last belligerent old bloke with some kid next to him, drunk driving his way around the streets and nasty. And do you know, because that's what
he sounds very fucking irritating though, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's all like, yeah, fuck you, yeah.
Well, even I think
Post Malone's not much better either. Is
no, I think everything about Ozzy Osbourne's contribution to that song is fucking awful. To be honest, I hate his vocal take. I find his vocals incredibly irritating and very one note in that song. He sings very high, which isn't very good for Ozzy, especially at this age. No, I think it's absolutely dreadful. Emperor in New Clothes, bollocks. I hate it. I don't like that song.
Right. I thought some of the music was all right. It's like quite, you know, it was the most sort of heavy one, the most driving one.
It's the most driving one because the tempo's the fastest. I mean,
I think that it's not, for me, it was, particularly when you got the last 3, Scary Little Green Men, Holy for Night, and It's a Raid. It's a Raid is the best one out of those last 3.
It's the best out of those last 3, but you're talking about 3 pretty turgid songs, aren't you?
Yes, you are, to be fair.
You know, I mean, the standard is not high. Yeah, and actually, It's a Raid compared to any of the first 4, I think, is terrible.
Yes, I agree with that. And then you've got, I mean, the only other 3 you haven't spoken about is the midsection, Under the Graveyard, Eat Me, and Today is the End, which...
Eat Me is embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to say, I feel like you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 are good, 5, 6, 7 are kind of nothing, apart from Eat Me isn't very good.
It is embarrassingly nothing.
Yeah, and then you've got 3
bad songs. Yeah. Which isn't great, is it?
No.
Let's face it. What would you give this album out of 10?
Well, there's 4 good songs on it out of 10.
4 out of 10?
That's So I'd give it 4 out of 10.
I'd give it 5.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would give it 5 because I think the two that are just like Under the Graveyard and Today Is the End are just sort of nothing.
Do you know what? I think Today Is the End has a nice chorus.
Yeah, but not a memorable one.
No.
So
I'm just trying to be nice.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, 5 out of 10 seems fair. And a 5 out of 10 is far more than I think that you could have really expected from Ozzy Osbourne.
I was expecting more of a 3. So, the embarrassing stuff that is on this record, I expected a lot of it to be embarrassing throughout. And the fact that it isn't, the fact that those first 4... I don't consider myself an Ozzy Osbourne fan. Yeah. If those first 4 songs were the record or if it was an EP, I would definitely listen to this after we reviewed it.
Yeah.
Because they're not... I might go back to that. I probably won't, to be honest. But, but I think that stands in good stead considering that I'm not a massive Ozzy Osbourne fan. But yeah, I mean, overall, it could have been a massive embarrassment. I don't think people will see this album as an embarrassment because even there aren't enough embarrassing moments on it to justify it being an embarrassing, a Lulu or a St. Anger.
Yeah, and also it's fairly similar to what Ozzy spent his entire career doing. So
it's not adventurous enough for it to be considered an embarrassment. It's just generally not very good, except for the small part where it is quite good.
And I didn't even expect that.
Yeah.
So I think you take 12 albums into a career, which is pretty much about to become over, I would say. He's not going to make another solo album.
No.
Surely
no.
Not. In 10 more years? Like, if you're thinking it's 10 years between each album now, I mean, it can't happen, can it, really? No. Okay, well, there you go. Thanks, Ozzy. Thanks for being great over the years. And if this is the last thing, don't worry about it. Some of it, you've done an all right job.
Some of it's quite good.
Some of it is pretty good. And if that sounds like we're being sort of snooty in any way, I don't think it's meant to, do you?
No.
I think it's just the reality of the situation. You are an old man. You are not very well. And you haven't made a good record for a very, very long time.
I was expecting to be far snootier than I have been. So if this is snooty, I was going to be super snooty. So super snooty.
There you go. Ordinary Man by Ozzy Osbourne is out right bloody now. All right, let's move on to our next album. It comes from Agnes Obel. The album is called Myopia. It's the 4th album by the Norwegian singer-songwriter of a folky classical bent.
She's Danish.
Is she Danish?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I apologise. She's Danish.
It's Danish, all the same, though, isn't it?
No, I'm not saying that. The Danish, fucking hell. The Danish singer-songwriter of a sort of folky, classical bent. I think we've spoken about her before. Yes,
I brought you Citizen of Glass, which was her last record on Trade Off. You liked it very much, from what I
thought it was very good. Yeah. I
love Agnes Obel.
You do.
I fucking love Agnes Obel. She is, because she sits in a world that is very much her own. She has influences from, I'm sure she's massively influenced by Kate Bush, for example. Mm-hmm. Tori Amos probably, but then there's also influences. I mean, Bach is probably an influence. Chopin's probably an influence. So she rides this weird line between it being sort of neoclassical and chamber pop. It's like melodramatic classical chamber pop. And I can't think of many other artists doing that. Certainly not in the manner in which she does it. I mean, debatably Zola Jesus, maybe, but in a totally different way. I just think she's fantastic. I fucking love her.
It's funny you say that, Renfrew, because my thing that I was going to bring up as I like this, but was this, right? Now, I listened to this record. It's very slight. It's very ethereal.
Yeah.
It is an album that I think you have to be in the mood for. The first couple of listens, I was like, I can't really get this. Yeah, okay. I can't really get this. And then, she starts to, or you listen to it and you start to notice how well constructed everything is. And I think it's, like I said, it's such a slight record. Nothing is
It's
pushed
subtle.
nothing is pushed to the forefront ever. Even her vocals, I don't think, are particularly dominant throughout this record. There are large passages of purely instrumental music, which I think are great. Actually, that, I listened to and I was like, after a while, I was like, oh yeah, that's really great. I mean, I would say
it's 10 tracks and 3 of the tracks are instrumental.
But there are there are passages in amongst those songs where her voice isn't.
Yeah.
I think what the guys from Technicolor were talking about last week when they were saying, if you've got this great vocalist, the tendency, we've said it before, that you have a sort of, that you can use them as a crutch, and you can have the tendency is to push everything that they
put them front and
very,
center.
very, very front. Agnes Obel was actually much more subtle with the way she used her voice, and I think that it ends up, if you listen to the record enough, and this is the thing, I think you do need to listen to the record quite a lot. It ends up being something which will slowly creep up on you, and you realise how good she is.
Yeah, I mean,
like we were talking about that sort of thing last week. Although that wasn't my criticism.
I suppose in lots of ways she uses her vocals like another instrument. There's a lot of, particularly the last couple of records, she's been experimenting a lot with sort of vocal processing, I guess, putting effects on her voice and stuff. And it's used brilliantly in
the song called Promise.
Promise.
Do you know that one where they weave up on, they kind of build up on top of each other? There's about 3 different vocal lines that kind of weave in and out of each other, and it's really clever. It's really good.
I think the vocal synthesizer stuff in particular is done really well on Island of Doom, and Broken Sleep has this excellent kind of pitched vocal thing. Yeah. It's kind of using, it's not auto-tune, but it is clearly using some sort of effects on the vocal, but in a manner which makes it a part of the song. You know how Believe by Cher, that became part of the song.
Yeah.
Interestingly, that only became that part of that song because the engineer had just received a demo of this new software called Pro Tools, and he was just fucking around with it one day, and Cher heard it, and she was like, "That's what I want the song to be," and that's why we have auto-tune.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Cher. Thanks, Cher. It is her fault primarily. And I just think she approaches things in a really interesting angle that is quite different to a lot of other artists of her ilk. She's also massive, mainly due to, I mean, she's just sold out Hammersmith Apollo.
Yes, she is.
And I think it's mainly due to her having lots of songs on adverts and so on and so forth. Anytime there's like a Scandi drama, Nordic drama, like it's likely, The Killing, The Bridge, that kind of thing. It's likely an Agnes Obel song will be over the trailer for it. But it's that kind of dark, mawkish sort of A.A. Williams-esque type thing, except sort of genuinely Scandinavian.
Can I give you my my but, which I didn't actually give you before?
Yeah.
So my but is this, right? Is I listened to this, and I what I want to preface this is it's not really an insult, because I actually really like this record. It took me quite a while. It took me 6 or 7 listens before I went, okay, I actually like this record. And I will tell you the bits before I give you the but. I will give you the bits that I really like. Josera starts with this really cool kind of clock-like rhythmical effect, which I think is really good, which really draws you in. She makes a lot out of so little on that song.
Oh, yeah.
The strings and the bass, the way they work against each other up against the piano, this really cool juxtaposition on the title track, I think is amazing. Again, neither of those things are really anything to do with her voice.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, she's a multi-instrumentalist as well, so she's doing a lot of instruments.
And then, like I say, the vocal lines on a track like Promise is amazing, and when she comes in, she's usually very, very good. What I thought about this, and like I say, I like this record, so shouldn't really be a problem. I thought you'd come in and praise it. I assume you like it.
I like it. I do have a couple of reservations though, but I'd like to hear yours first.
Well, mine is that I thought I'm going to come in and be quite nice about this record because I enjoy it. And maybe it's because I'm more familiar with rock and metal than I am with listening to this stuff. But I did start thinking, well, I've been listening to a lot of this recently, and I understand that she borrows slightly more from a more classical bent than a more, folksy or singer-songwritery type of thing, or the death gospel type of thing.
I'd say it's 70-30, 70 classical. 30.
But at the same time, there's nothing really original, I don't think, about this. There's nothing boundary genre pushing.
No.
In the same, and we have a tendency to, and we have definitely recently, belittled metal bands quite a lot for. If this was a metal record, a very well-made metal record, we said that, the Decapitation album, it's all right, but it sounds like a metal record. I mean, that is as boundary pushing in its genre as this is in its genre. It's slightly different, and it's doing slightly different stuff. But why are we giving stuff like this a pass? I mean, someone said this to me, actually, and I did go, yeah, I mean, I think there are reasons for it, but they were like, you gave metal a hard time, but yet you listen to stuff like the Menzingers and say how great it is. Well, what are they doing that's different?
But more characteristics and more personality naturally comes through this kind of music than it does with metal. Because with metal, you are limited with metal with the sort of the style of emotions that, well, I wouldn't say you're limited, but metal tends to showcase negative emotions 9 times out of 10. That's why an album like Devin Townsend's Epic Cloud is so interesting.
Yeah.
And that he was like, I'm going to write a heavy metal album, but it's going to be a happy major key metal album. It's because no one does that, within the worlds of metal. This is very melancholic and dark, sort of a dark enchantress kind of thing. It draws you in, but it feels slightly dangerous at the same time. But when you're singing more, and it's more down about her sort of the personal touch that she puts on it. I mean, I don't think, to take 2 examples at random, Chelsea Wolfe and Agnes Obel, although I actually think they're totally different genres, if anything, but I don't think Chelsea Wolfe and Agnes Obel sound the same in the way that Niall and I don't know, Suicide Silence is a great example with Niall, but I don't think even that though, which isn't the closest that you can get. I don't think they sound the same in the way.
I think Suicide Silence and Niall sound as different from each other as Agnes Obel and Chelsea Wolfe sound from each other.
I don't know.
Depending on which Chelsea Wolfe album you're talking about.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. But that's the other thing. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I will say. Chelsea Wolfe.
Actually, depending on what Suicide. I mean, the thing you could pick, you could tell about Suicide Silence as well.
Yeah,
because they've made a lot of different. They've made a few different records as well. I just, it's not really a criticism. It's just something that I thought I was like, I should pick us both up on that.
I think there's a world of difference. Maybe I'm not explaining it very well, but I personally I don't think this is. I mean, we have been quite hard on metal, but that's because we love it. I think
we're more familiar with it, and I think my argument back to my own sort of question that I've posed would be, I think metal, which I think I've said before, is metal is, if you write really, really good songs, like the Menzingers do. I mean, that's obviously different to this, but I think the Menzingers, with the style of music, it doesn't need to change. It will never really go out of style. It'll always just, as long as you're doing it with the correct intentions and you're doing it well, it will sound good. Whereas with metal, it's not really about songwriting. But then, funny enough, I don't necessarily think this is necessarily about songwriting either, which is why I thought it was a fair, kind of interesting comparison.
But there's more of a personal connection in that the Menzingers write very personal songs, which feel very, which a lot of people can relate to. I think because this comes from a half folk tradition. I mean, in a way, it is an interesting amalgam because it is folky in a sense, but as you rightly say, Agnes Obel is not the front and centre of it. I mean, she actually is, because she plays damn near everything on this record.
But vocally, she's not.
But vocally, she's not. It's not. When I say chamber pop, this isn't produced in a pop way at all, really.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, if you put on Agnes Obel If you put on a song and it was Agnes Obel, I'd never heard it before, I'd be able to tell it was Agnes Obel. Whereas if you put on Nile next to a million other bands, I wouldn't be able to tell it was them. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
And
that's fair.
That's partly comes down to some of the constraints of the genre as a whole. But to be honest, rather than we do target individual bands from time to time, but most of the time when I moan about that stuff with regards to metal, I'm moaning about the genre as a whole, as opposed to, just a few bands. I mean, it's most metal bands. Let's face it.
Yeah, I think as well that there's nothing. I mean, again, to kind of debunk my own point, the reason I couldn't come in and say that about this record, even though it's, it's not my. If I was to put together my favorite of whatever type of genre this sort of is, it probably wouldn't be right up the very, very higher end. But I just think, in general, the quality that tends to be a lot higher than when we get a kind of mid-level tier metal band and they write another album that sounds like a mid-level tier metal band. So I think
we've got Lamb of God up here on the YouTube, and Lamb of God, and a lot of it is down to Randy, a lot of it is down to the style of riffs and stuff like that, but I can tell Lamb of God apart from, I don't know, God Forbid or whatever. Shadows Fall, because they are a better band than those bands.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
It's true. I mean, but like I say, I like this record, and I think it's very good. It took me a little while to really be able to get into it.
Okay.
Which is not a problem at all, but I'm just saying, if you think that, hey, I'm not sure that if somebody who never listened to this type of stuff said to me, where's a good place to start, I'm not sure I'd give them this.
Interesting. Okay. I like this record very, very much, but then I don't think I was ever not going to, realistically. This is so me in a nutshell. In terms of that female singer-songwriter thing, it's me all over. I absolutely love Agnes Obel and what she does. Truthfully, I've listened to it, I don't know, a dozen times since we've had it, and I think it's probably my least favourite Agnes Obel album of the four she's done. But to be honest, they're all pretty damn high in my estimation anyway. So when you say I wouldn't give this one to someone to introduce them to her, I mean, I don't think it is a terrible introduction, but I would. But it is, in my opinion.
I think it's a patience testing introduction. Is
Maybe.
what I think. I think the subtleties are subtle. That somebody are so subtle that if you weren't willing to give this 12 listens, I don't think you'd get much out of it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, certainly, I was very, very,
That's not
very.
a problem. That's not a problem at all.
I was very, very, very excited for it. Got the promo and pretty much played it immediately. And my first couple of listens, I was like, "Oh, is that it?" Because it's 10 tracks. It's just under 40 minutes. 3 of those songs, as I say, are instrumentals. No, I very rarely have a problem with instrumentals. And obviously, you're okay with the instrumentals on this song.
Yeah, I really like the instrumentals.
Point some of them out. I actually feel like I wanted a little bit more vocal from Agnes Obel on this record.
Yeah, I think that would make it much. I think the door would creak open a little bit more for, without I don't want to sound like a snob, but a casual listener.
Yeah. If anything, again, going against type, if anything, I think this album's too short. I think if it had another couple of songs with vocals, I don't think that would have necessarily gone amiss. I don't think it needs to be much longer than it is, but it might have it feels very slight. Actually, I don't know if this is because it's in the corner of my eye, but it reminds me of Purple in the sense, Baroness's Purple, in the sense that, and I think I said this before, the quality on it is very, very high throughout, but by the end of Purple, I'm like, oh, is that it? I want a bit more. Whereas her other records don't make me feel like that. I feel sated after listening to Philharmonics and Aventine and Citizen of Glass, whereas this one just leaves me wanting more. Not the worst thing in the world to feel at all. And, my comparison to Purple's a fucking brilliant record.
Yeah.
But, it just kind of leaves me... It feels a little slight, maybe. But I think the first 3 tracks are absolutely amazing. The title track is beautiful.
The title track's great.
I really love this record because I think Agnes Obel is, uniquely brilliant and doesn't sound like anyone else. So I think it's really nice when someone like she has broken through really well, like selling out Hammersmith Apollo.
Yeah, amazing.
In a month or so is fucking incredible, and it's well deserved. Is it my favourite album of the week? It might be my favourite album of the week. It's between this and probably what we're going to do next, I imagine.
Okay.
It's not your favourite album of the week then?
No, it's not actually, no.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a second. All right, but it's. I mean, I like it though.
Yeah.
It took me a while, but I like it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it might end up being my favorite album of the week.
Yeah. I do think it's a bit of a slow burn in a way, but then I suppose I'm so predisposed to this kind of thing anyway. I probably don't even notice when things are a slow burn as much as others. But
I thought it was noticeably more of a slow burn than a lot of things that are akin to it that we've covered.
Interesting.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. To me, I have to say the first couple of listens I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to come here and slag somebody.
That's kind of brave for of all of those types of bands, of all of that music that we have talked about, she's probably the biggest.
Yeah.
So the fact that she's doing potentially the least immediate is interesting for what is a very commercial artist. I mean, at the end of the day, she is doing... I first heard about Agnes Obel on an advert on Spotify. It's the only time I've ever been interested in music that I've learnt about from Spotify.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I don't think I've ever discovered anyone on Spotify. I think so that's the future.
I mean, we
get sent 8 fucking albums a day, don't we?
Yeah. But,
stop fucking sending me albums, you pricks. No, don't.
Don't. No.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't say that.
No, I was joking. Anyway, that's Myopia by Agnes Obel. It's out now. Right, they were here last week. We're going to talk about their record right now. In Technicolor, Big Sleep. It is the name of the debut album from the Brighton-based sensible rock band, as they christened themselves last week.
Dad Rock,
yeah. They were here, and very interesting they were too.
They were great. Yeah. We've had a lot of people say very nice things about Vlad and Dave. So
yeah. So now it's time for us to talk about their debut album, which I think Renfrey, you said last week, we've been waiting for some time.
Yeah, it's been. There's not much that I can actually go into, but this has been around a little while. Let's just say that much. But well worth the wait, in my opinion. Although I sort of insinuated that last week when you hadn't heard it. How do you feel about it?
This is a rock album.
Yes.
This will bang you on the head with immediacy, and you'll like it. Yes. I guarantee that. That is my guarantee. You heard it here first.
Steve's guarantee.
Yeah, or your money back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I listened to this and I was like, this is very instantaneous rock music in the vein of a lot of sort of old school-y, stonery hard rock bands from the sort of or alternative rock, sort of stoner stroke alternative rock bands from the 90s that used to have a very immediate edge about them.
Give us a few names.
Queens of Stone Age.
Queens of Stone Age. Yeah.
Queens of Stone Age are the ones that kind of leap out at you.
Mm-hmm.
But Queens of Stone Age can be quite psychedelic and quite weird as well. And I think this, it was annoying me. I was like, who does this remind me of? Who does this remind me of? Who does this remind me of? And I kept listening to it and I was like, it does sound like Queens of Stone Age because it's got big riffs, but I don't really think it feels like a stoner rock band. It's not really an alternative rock band in the same way as, say, like, Nirvana or Soundgarden, where although, Soundgarden and Alice in Chains use kind of doomy, stonery guitar tones, but I don't think it's like that. I also don't think it's going down towards the Caius or Fu Manchu. It doesn't quite go as far as the Caius Fu Manchu stuff. I think, Queens of Stone Age are the well, obviously the most commercial of the stoner generation, and that's because they don't stick so rigidly to let's make it sound like it was made in the desert while we were all stoned off our heads. And I was like, there must be a band that is comparable, and I think that band and that album is You and Me by Open Hand. Do you know that album?
Absolutely not. I don't.
Oh, what a fucking great... It came out on Roadrunner Records in about 2005. They used to be a hardcore band. I actually saw them supporting... I think saw them supporting Poison the Well in about 2003.
Okay.
The record is brilliant, but it kind of balances on a sort of seesaw somewhere between stuff like Helmet and Quicksand and Queens of Stone Age and Caius and Fu Manchu and Nebula and shit like that. And this does that. It's got a kind of futuristic stoner vibe to it, like a sort of alt rock futuristic stoner vibe.
Yeah.
Where the melodies are really cool and the riffs are really instantaneous, but after a while you start to notice clever little things that they're doing with the rhythms. There's a call and response bit with the guitar in the song Shaker.
Yep.
At first I just listened to it and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I thought, wow, that's really interesting. What a good idea. What a brilliant idea. What a simple but brilliant idea to kind of double up on that guitar part. And it sort of changes every time. And the riffs are genuinely really good.
Yeah.
Queen of Stone Age and something a bit more punky.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is, as you're saying, a very immediate album, and yet at the same time, the more you listen to it, the more it opens itself up to you. So in a way, the best of both worlds. Yeah. I think particularly songs like, the really big stoner vibes are on the likes of Tortoise, which is a 10.5-minute epic that closes the record. It's basically one riff over and over again. There's 2 parts to that entire song. And on paper, it really shouldn't, sound like it should work at all. Yeah. At 10.5 minutes long. But it's just, I personally find it really enthralling, that song. In a kind of Cult of Luna-esque way, in that we were saying these songs, they're 10 minutes long, but they feel like they're about 4. I get that with Tortoise as well. It's the most Caius-y kind of, stoner wig out one, but it's fucking excellent. Slow Moth as well, I think, has a element of that kind of Fu Manchu, Caius-y type stuff. But then, then they've got a load of rages as well, such as, you just said it, Shaker, Doomer, Miami Funk. Yeah. I think the vocalist is voiced Toby Anderson. He's got this really sort of coarse harshness to his vocals, yet melodic, which a lot of bands can't pull off well enough, but he does it brilliantly. I really, really like his vocals. Has some really nice sort of one-liners, like box office poison slipped into my cup. Not quite Neil Fallon, but not far off Fallon. Not far off Fallon, which is definitely a compliment, considering how much we've wanged on about how brilliant Neil Fallon is. Yeah, always.
Anytime you ever get compared to Neil Fallon.
Exactly. And I think, there's lots of really cool sludgy riffs and licks, but also melodic, and you could enjoy this. It feels like a Sunshine record, kinda, despite it being sludgy and stonery. Yeah, it's like a happy time stoner record.
Yeah, it's a lot brighter, and I think that's what I mean, like kind of. It's almost like when I say alt rock, and I mentioned Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, it's more like kind of post grunge. It's more, your Silverchairs and your feeders, or Smashing Pumpkins even, or like at their sort of their heaviest.
Yeah.
And and also has some very clear political messages on it. Very clear on something like Doomer, which But then if you're like me and you're desensitized and disgruntled and apathetic about life, you can just ignore it and go, I like that riff.
You absolutely can, yeah.
It won't be a problem because the riff is big enough.
I don't think any of the politicalness of it would be off-putting, even if you disagreed. I don't think it's front and center enough to be. It's not Fever 333, is it? Let's face it. But yeah, if it's
nowhere near stupid enough.
It's there if you. Yeah, it's there, but I don't think it's front and center or anything like that.
No, me neither.
They are raging live as well. And actually, I should say, if you're listening to this today, it goes up. They're actually playing the Black Heart this evening in London.
They are.
With Clit Drip. They
are. And I said, depending on whether or not I like the record, I'd go down if I like the record. Now, I'm not going down. I do like the record, but it's because I'm looking after a dog.
Absolute travesty.
Yeah.
You're not going to come see Clit Drip? I tell you what. I shouldn't say this on mic, but that Clit Drip album is fucking off the scale.
Okay, but I can't bring a dog, can I? Dog sitting. You're thinking about it. I can't remember.
I'm trying to think of a way around it.
There isn't a way around it. You either bring the dog or you don't go, or I don't dog sit. I've already said I'm going to. So I can't go.
This is sad.
Well, when my friends reach out to me, please can you look after my dog? I say yes. Anyway, it's good.
It's great.
So let me know how it is. We'll talk about it next week, I'm sure.
Is that your favourite album of the week?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. For me, definitely.
I mean, it is between Agnes Obel and In Technicolor, but they're so different. I can't really compare them. It depends what mood I'm in, but they're both brilliant.
It's very good. Oh, Big Sleep, it's called by In Technicolor. And I did a big yawn then because I'm fucked and we're getting towards the end of the show, trust me. We only got one album left. It's called Random Desire. It comes from Greg Dulli. The debut solo album by Greg Dulli, formerly of the Afghan Wigs.
Here we go.
And the Twilight Singers, one of the most important and truest voices of his generation. But to warp the words of Public Enemy, he may be a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me. I saw the Afghan Wigs at Reading in 1997.
Right.
In between Deftones and Rocket from the Crypt.
Oh, right. Tough.
So unlucky, lads.
So you weren't an Afghan Wigs fan?
No, not really. They were one of those bands. So they did so little for me at that time of my life when I had Rocket from the Crypt on one side and Deftones on the other, that it just meant that I only have ever occasionally dipped into Afghan Wigs in the kind of the downloading stroke streaming era of my life. And I have had a couple of listens to it, but it's just, they're one of those bands where I listen to a couple of songs or whatever and I go, oh, they sound quite good. And I've never really properly listened to them. And I've never really properly gone big on in and had a proper listen. So I don't really know if I like them or not.
We're both coming in at the same angle in that case, because I was sort of hoping that you would know them, because I heard Gentleman, which is considered the classic Afghan Wigs album, many, many years ago, and was like, this is really cool. And much like you, just never got around to properly listening to them. So my only other Greg Dulli reference is The Gutter Twins, which was the album that he did with Mark Lanigan, who we've spoken about a lot on this show. That album is fucking excellent.
That album is great.
Yeah, and actually, I got it out again to listen to because I knew we were reviewing this, and I hadn't heard it for ages, and it is fucking excellent, that album. It really stands out.
A lot of that is down to Mike Lanigan, though, as ever.
I love the pairing of the two. Yes, that album is great because Mark Lanigan's on it, but they work off of one another really,
yeah, they
really
do,
well.
they do, but I just think you don't want to duet with Mark Lanigan.
Well, no, quite. But then Greg Dulli, he has a very distinct voice. It's him when you listen to it.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to this record, which we're both coming in on a little bit fresh, it feels like the one common thread throughout the album is his vocal style, isn't it? Because there isn't really a lot else linking these songs together. It's a relatively slight album. It's about 10 tracks, 37 minutes-ish.
Yep.
We both sort of admitted before recording this that neither of us have loads to say on this. I quite like it, but I don't love it.
But it's one of those ones again, isn't it? That, like classic alt rock frontman makes kind of classic sounding, fairly weathered, but still interesting downbeat solo record.
Yeah, yeah.
And, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is often very good. I think the 1-2 punch of Scorpio and It Falls Apart back to back.
Absolutely.
In the middle
Scorpio is wonderful.
It does wonders. Yeah, kind of sweeping, epic, amazing. Strings, darkness, well good.
Yeah.
Like really, that is really, really wicked. There's a song called Lockless, which I think is one of the few times where I go, oh, that's actually quite interesting, where he kind of manages to marry hip hop beats and like Hovis advert brass section.
What you mean,
which kind of drives it. It's weird as fuck, but it's really, really good. And I think just by being quite different and sort of going, well, here's something not new, because obviously hip hop beats aren't new, but like something a bit different,
but you don't
with
hear
something
it,
real classic sounding, and being done by somebody from that 90s Gen X school is really interesting. And I think, like you say, most of this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Most of this is pretty good. and that's it.
Yeah. This is a pretty decent record. I'd give a shout out to the first song as well, which I cannot remember the title of.
The first song
but I was
is
hoping you would
called, hold on,
bring that up.
Pantomima.
Pantomima, lovely. I think that's a really great song as well. It's really driving and begins the album in a really good way. And I'm never really bored on this record because it's got enough different ideas on it. But I also, bar the odd highlight here and there, I'm also rarely paying all that much attention to it. I've listened to it 5 times now, I reckon, and it definitely is getting better with every listen, so it's definitely a grower. But I mean, maybe I'd have more appreciation for it if I knew Afghan Wigs. I don't know. I don't dislike it. Like, I think it's decent.
I think a lot of the time that context would maybe make you like it not as much.
Well, possibly, yeah. It did. I mean, listening to it, I was constantly like, I really should go back to the Afghan Wigs one day, because it feels like they're a band that if I delve into them properly, I will really like. I just haven't had the time.
I mean, I would be stunned if this is better than anything they've ever done.
Yeah. Same.
Because when has the solo album by the lead singer of a kind of quote unquote classic band coming out fucking 25 years after their peak been better than the music that they were known for in the first place?
Ooh,
never.
That'd be a good Twitter question. I bet there's 1 or 2 outliers. I just can't think what they are off the top of my head.
I don't think so. I don't think there is one.
Oh, there must be. There must be.
I mean, even the ones that are really good, like we spoke about Bob Mould album. Yeah. Bob Mould's made loads of albums, so it's not even like that's like, oh, he's come out with an album. But Bob Mould's last album isn't as good as him at his best.
I've already confessed on this podcast, I think I prefer Bob Mould to Husker Du these days.
Yeah, but all right, it's not as good as Copper Blue, is it?
No.
Yeah, so there you go. So there goes Bob Mould.
Yeah. Okay.
The first fairly decent shout you had, shot down.
I didn't even have it as a decent shout.
You tried to argue it, Renfrey. You tried to argue it as a potential.
It's very difficult, admittedly, but I'll try and come back next week. I mean, look, I'm suggesting that if they exist, there's 2 or 3 ever made, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be this one. We can go and listen to the Afghan Wigs and go, wow, they're shite.
I don't think it is this one. I think this is a perfectly fine album, and I think I'd even go as far as saying I think this is a good album, but I don't think it's this album.
Yeah, I listened to it a few times. I think I'm going to cherry pick the sort of 4 or 5 songs on it that I really, really like, and I'll probably go back to. But as an album, I'm not sure I will go back to it that much. Yeah. But I like it. I mean, I like his voice.
Yeah,
I do like his voice.
Same.
And
I want to hear that voice over rock songs. Yeah. Which is why I'm like, I really should go back to the Afghan Wigs. Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous that I haven't gone in on that. Yeah, but time. Life
gets in the way. All right, well, there you go. I don't really think there's anything else to say about that. It's pretty good. I mean, if you're a fan of him, go and have a little listen. I'm sure it'll be, enjoyable. And we should probably educate ourselves more.
We should.
The Afghan Wigs.
Excellent review, Steve.
Thanks, mate. Random Desire by Greg Dulli is out now. Right, that's it. I'm going to bed.
I've got to edit this shit.
I'm going to bed. Next week, we're going to be reviewing 5 Finger Death Punch, maybe? Maybe.
Nova Twins?
We will be doing a Nova Twins, though. We'll do that for sure. Go over to musicism.net and put Riot in the checkout in capitals to get 25% off any and all of your courses. And we shall see you next week for some bloody heavy metal, Big Mac and fries, yay America, all that stuff, innit?
Oh, you're talking about 5 Finger Death Punch?
I'm talking about 5 Finger Death Punch.
Yeah, great.